Coming up on Harvest, he was born in the fascinating land of the Bible. Director of Israel Ministry of Tourism, Omer Eshel, joins us with an update on travel to the Holy Land. And Duck Dynasty's Robertson and actor Stephen Baldwin discuss the making of the patriotic new film, The Faith of Our Fathers, and discover the biblical meaning of positive thinking in part 2 of How to Avoid the Mind Trap with Pastor Mark Lantz. Stay with us. Harvest starts now. Well, it's the first day of July, and we're so glad you've decided to join us here on The Harvest Show and to spend the time with us. Valerie Lowe here with Chuck Freebie and Peter Summerall. Stephen Radulich is somewhere on assignment feeding the hungry, I believe. So, Pulse FM is coming up pretty soon, right. And I heard you were at the finals last night.
I did. I went to the championship of the local voice that's going to do the national anthem, and I was very, very impressed by all the people that were there.
So last night, I believe this was at the Christian Center Church last night, they had 5 competitors. 2 were in the youth division, and then 3 were in the adult division. I think they called it Rising Star, right? And the winner of the youth division got sent to this really cool camp, this Camp Electric. I think it's over in Ohio, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And they're going to be there, Valerie, with Toby Mac and Mercy Me, and kind of like in a camp setting where they learn how to do worship music and leading worship and things like that. And then the 3 finalists, the 3 adult finalists competed, and I was kidding Melanie on the air this morning on Pulse FM because I said the thing you liked about it was being able to tell 2 people you're losers. But she said no, it was about celebrating the winner, whose name I believe is Michael Essex. Oh, well, there he is. There he is. With that, Corey's the one on the right. And and so Michael will be performing the national anthem and a song, I imagine, of his choosing at the World Pulse Festival coming up on July 10th.
He did a terrific job. He's a great talent, had great presence, and got the group that was there very involved in his music, and I was very, very impressed with him.
Pete was kind of the Simon Cowell last night, standing in the back.
Really? Oh, come on.
Just denigrating everybody. No.
I was about to say, you probably didn't even say one word. Well, so glad for our winner. The person gets to perform the national anthem at World Pulse Festival. So if you're in the area, that's July 10th and 11th. That's Friday and Saturday. So be sure to join us for the World Pulse Festival. Hey, switching gears here a little bit. I think Chris Christie threw his name in the hat yesterday. So what is the number now, 14 or 16?
Is it?
16 people. In fact, I will be tweeting out later today that I'm the only person in America not running for president of the United States. 16 Republicans vying for one spot, and Christie would seem to have a bit of an uphill battle ahead of him.
Yeah, he does.
So any predictions, though, from you?
You know, right now, Jeb Bush probably is the leader, but there's a lot of great people involved in the Republican side, and it'll be interesting to see more people get involved in the Democrat side.
Yeah, I'm hoping
more. I don't have anything necessarily against Hillary, and I'm sure there's a lot of people watching us today that may support Hillary. But I'd like to see a little competition there.
And it sounds like Bernie Sanders.
Is getting a lot of crowds, know, but there should be more people involved, I think, in the Democrat side, just to get a good conversation going, have some debates, et cetera. So
here's a question for you, Mr. Newshound. Will Joe Biden run?
I don't think so. Personally, I don't see him getting in the race personally.
No.
And do you think that's somewhat influenced by the death of his son Beau and what happened there, or do you think it's just kind of like he's reached his point of wanting to step away from the public eye?
I really don't know. I think the American public probably is looking for someone a little younger. And it's nothing to take away from people of age. And we have some people of age who are currently running, in the election. But Vice President Biden has been involved in public politics for a long, long time. He's served the country for a very long time, and a lot of people don't necessarily care for him. A lot of people think he's a great guy. But I really think he's probably going to do a reality check of saying, do I really want to try and tie myself up in that campaign, number one, that's grueling campaign, and then potentially be elected. It's a long time.
Okay, so if I had a wish list, I don't know if I've said this publicly, but I'm going to say it. I would love for Condoleezza Rice to
Absolutely.
throw her name
I
in the hat.
100% agree with you. I think she would be a terrific person involved in the campaign.
She has
but
the
I don't
experience. No, I don't see it either. But like I said, that's a wish list. So if you're listening, Ms. Condoleezza Rice, put on your pumps and get in the race.
See, the job Condoleezza Rice really wants is not President of the United States.
Okay, what is it?
Commissioner of the National Football League.
Right.
Oh, okay, yeah, she did.
She is a huge football fan. She currently serves on the College Football Playoff Committee, and she would love to be commissioner of the NFL. And the way things are going for Roger Goodell, there are probably a lot of people who would love for Condoleezza Rice to be commissioner of the NFL.
She'd be terrific. She did watch publicly. She watched a Super Bowl on METV while in Jerusalem when she was Secretary of State. But she'd be a terrific candidate, would do very well. And frankly, I think Carly Fiorina is also a very, very good candidate. So, there are a couple of ladies that could be involved.
You and Condi?
Oh, no.
No. I'm not
I just
going
want her
there.
smarts.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a beautiful woman, but I love, she's so smart. Okay, so
She's
segue.
almost as smart as you and Faith.
Oh.
Close.
That's so
Well
kind of
played.
you. I know, right? Okay, so you said that Condi watched the Super Bowl on METV, which is a great segue because we're here in the middle of the summer. Well, yeah, July the 1st, and we're working on our World Harvest Campaign, a Global Harvest Campaign to raise funds to keep ministries like METV on the air. How are we doing?
I think we've had a fairly good start to the summer, but summer is always a challenge where a lot of people go on vacations and they kind of put their nonprofits in the back burner. And our expenses and our needs continue to go on, whether it's in shortwave radio or spreading the word Bibles or whatever it is. We still need our partner support. So it's very important for people to continue to remember that we need their help during the course of the summer.
Okay, so Pete, several months ago, we took a trip to South Carolina to check on some of the equipment in shortwave radio equipment, and some of it was broken as a result of a really bad ice storm. I mean, some of the funds would go to repair things like that.
That's right. No, it does. The repair and expense of equipment really is very, very high, whether it's on the broadcast television side or in the shortwave side. We've got a particular amplifying tube in shortwave that it by itself is over $65,000. So, in any given day, that could fail. We got to replace it. It'd be nice to be able to have a spare on hand. But we do need people's help to be able to continue to spread the word around the world. And
Chuck, I know we have a goal of $331,000.
Yes.
I mean, I know it doesn't take that much to run your family. Well, maybe it does.
No, I think it does. If we want to hold a separate fundraising campaign for the Freebie family, we're more than happy to do that.
Well, your cost should have gone down.
Well,
with marrying one off?
You got one?
Well, yeah,
I know.
But you still have five.
Yeah.
That's
An
right.
extra one. I wish it worked that way. You know well how this works. But we want to know your thoughts on all of the topics that we've talked about so far. So we invite you to friend us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and email us live at LeSEA.com. I know these are your lines, but I'm going to read them anyway because I've got to get over to the international news set because this little thing that we call the international news is next here on Harvest. And welcome to the first day of July 2015. Here's what's happening in your world. A leaked letter from Greece's government to Eurozone officials appears to show Athens is ready to concede to creditor demands over new bailout terms. The memo, obtained by the Financial Times, comes as Eurozone finance ministers prepare for a conference call later today in Brussels to discuss a last-minute bailout proposal. This scene this morning in Athens may have been part of what prompted the Greek government to finally give in. Anxious crowds of Greeks thronged banks that were opened especially for pensioners to allow them some sort of access to their money.
Yesterday it was the first day that some pensioners didn't get any pension, some of them. This is unprecedented. And at the same time, nobody got his or her pension or salary, and this is why the government decided to put capital controls, because there are no money for salaries and pensions.
Some pensioners waited since before dawn, but as that opening hour approached, you could see the tension rippling through the crowd. Weaker people got pushed aside, everyone trying to get a number ticket. And the stocks on Germany's DAX index are marginally higher today. Investors are hopeful a deal may emerge in the days ahead that would prevent Greece from leaving the euro. There is some optimism Greeks will agree in a referendum Sunday to the bailout terms that would effectively keep that country in the European single currency. Now, last night's missed IMF payment has caused the scramble by Greek officials today. The alternative is that Greece would default on its debts, eventually drop out of the euro currency, and that move could potentially set off turmoil in the financial markets. Global shares also rose today. Investors appear to be taking a wait-and-see stance. The Dow futures, well, they're up 150 points just before the opening bell. A historically black church in South Carolina with a history of being targeted caught fire Tuesday night. Investigators are trying to determine the cause. Investigators from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms are on the scene at the Mount Zion AME Church in Greeleyville, but the cause is not clear. State and federal authorities are involved with the investigation. The church was burned to the ground by the KKK in 1995. President Clinton at that time spoke at the dedication of the newly rebuilt church the next year. The fire comes amid heightened fears about church burnings in the wake of the massacre of 9 people at the historically black Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston. Now, the Associated Press is reporting a state law enforcement division official says storms moved through that area last night, so the fire may have been caused by lightning. A forensic team at a hospital in Medan have identified 43 of the victims following Tuesday's crash of an Air Force transport plane in Indonesia. The plane was carrying more passengers than the military previously reported, raising the death toll. So far, 141 bodies have been recovered from the rubble of a residential area in Medan, where the C-130 Hercules crashed shortly after takeoff on Tuesday. The Air Force says 122 people were on board, including military personnel and their families. Officials don't expect any survivors. Initially, the Air Force said there were 12 crew members on the C-130, and they didn't mention passengers. It then repeatedly raised the number of people aboard. That indicates some lax control and raises questions about whether the plane was accepting paying passengers, despite previous promises to crack down on that practice. And Thai police today arrested 2 men they say are major figures behind a human trafficking ring that provides crew members for fishing boats. They said the suspects ordered middlemen to search for potential workers at train stations, bus terminals, or other public places.
Head of the syndicate, they are the illegal brokers operated in Samut Sakhon area. They were trying to persuade people and deceive those people to work in the fishing boats.
The perpetrators then sold their victims to boat owners at the price of around $1,000 per person. The victims were then brought to work on fishing boats in Indonesia. Police say the 2 men have confessed to human trafficking. That syndicate had lured up to 60 victims a year since 2008. Coming up next, Director of Israel's Ministry of Tourism, Omer Eshel, joins us with an update on travel to the Holy Land. And speaking of the Holy Land, Brian Bush is standing by in Israel with an update. What do you have for us, Brian?
Well, thank you very much, Chuck. I'll have the latest on the terrible terror attack that happened in northern Sinai, as well as an update on the talks between world powers and Iran taking place right now in Vienna. Friends, Don't go anywhere. The Harvest Show is continuing right after this.
If you are among the thousands who love the teaching of Lester Sumrall, then you should have the 2-volume set of The Treasury of Lester Sumrall. Written in Dr. Sumrall's easy-to-understand style, you'll feel like you are getting a Bible school education. There are 732 individual readings, one for each day for 2 whole years. These beautiful devotionals will also make a wonderful gift for your friends, family, or even your pastor. Order yours today.
Do you sometimes wonder what life would be like if you had the energy to do those extra things you want to do but just can't? Maybe it's to go for a walk after dinner or spend your Saturdays playing with your kids. If you're tired all the time and have decided that you just always will be, guess what? You don't have to be. With Mineral Concentrate from Making Healthy Choices, this fulvic acid electrolyte mineral formula promotes maximum cell function while sparking your body's electrical conductivity. What does that mean? Well, most people say they've never felt better. The best part is it's only $29.95. And if you call now, we'll even pay to ship it to you. So dial 1-800-965-2345 or go to mhclife.com. This electrolyte formula promotes dependable, solid energy day in and day out. So call the number on the screen. Do it for your spouse, your kids, your friends, and most of all, do it for you. Call 1-800-965-2345 or go to mhclife.com. It's time for life.
These days, reading your Bible is as easy as opening an app on your phone or doing a quick internet search. But how do people in developing countries hear the gospel when they don't have access to television, the internet, or Christian publications? The answer for many is shortwave radio, technology that's accessible to millions and ideal for broadcasting God's Word to areas where missionaries simply cannot reach or aren't permitted to travel. We're so thankful for your support, which has helped continue the work Dr. Lester Sumrall began 70 years ago. Through your gifts and prayers, we continue to transmit God's Word to every major continent in the world through shortwave radio, helping to reach a potential 20 million homes through this powerful technology. Through the support of friends like you, the good news of Jesus continues to be heard by many living in the most difficult to reach corners of the globe. And we thank you.
Joining me now is Omer Eshel, from the Israeli Ministry of Tourism, talk about travel to the Holy Land. And Omer, somewhat of a sad goodbye. You're leaving us to go back to Israel.
I am.
Thank you for being with us so long here in the United States.
Well, thank you for enduring with me for so long in the United States.
You've done a terrific job representing Israel. And, you know, one of the things that's unique about you, you've had an incredible opportunity to travel the United States. What really stands out during your time in being here in the U.S.?
You know, when they ask me before, where do you want to go and serve, I ask for the U.S. And they said, which part in the U.S.? I said, the part where appreciates the Bible. Any place where appreciates the Bible, that's the place I belong to. And when you ask me what is the thing that really put a huge impression on me, it's, again, the impact of the Bible. I think the only 2 countries in the world you can talk about King Hezekiah, and everybody knows what you're talking about, is in America and in Israel.
Wow, that's fantastic. So when you go back to Israel, what's going to be your favorite place to be able to go see?
Oh, how long do we have? Well, I can tell you one place, you know this, one of my favorite places in the world, and it's completely off the beaten track. It's called the Peace Observation.
Okay.
And it's up on the south tip of the Golan Heights, and that's the only place in Israel when you can see the entire Sea of Galilee spread right beneath you, and you see the point of entry of the Jordan, the point of exit of the Jordan, and you are right above the cliffs of Gadara, the same place of the miracle of the swines. That's there. And that place is just phenomenal.
Now, you're an Israeli. You have 2 kids and your wife. And any apprehensions about moving back to Israel? Because Israel's always in the news regarding security.
You know what? I think that when the good Lord spoke to Abram and told him, you should go to the country that I will lead you, it didn't say Israel. You'll see it when I tell you. Because it was the news back then as well. Absolutely no fears whatsoever. We are, by the grace of God, we're going to go to a place called Ela Valley. My daughter is named after that valley. Beautiful, picturesque valley. That's where David slew Goliath. That's where Samson fought against the Philistines. That's where he's from. That's the ancient place of the tribe of Dan. This is us. This is who we are. If you know what, if you ask me a question about this now, we're about to enter to 4th of July.
Right.
A year ago, 4th of July, there were 13 casualties in the streets of Chicago. So, and 4th of July, it's a lot more dangerous to be in Chicago than it is to be in Israel.
That's a good point. All right, people who are watching us today, what can they expect if they go to Israel?
They expect to come back different person.
Okay.
And why is that? When you go to Israel, you don't go to Florida. You don't go to Disney. You don't go to France. You go to visit a part of your soul. And the amazing thing about it, you know, everybody has a doubt. You know, you read the Bible, you say, really, did it really happen? Somewhere there's a doubt. There isn't a doubt. Because when you come to Israel, you see that the stories of the Bible, that's not Greek mythology. That's for real. So when you read about Mount Moriah and you stand in Mount Moriah, when you read about the limitation of David and you're in Mount Gilboa viewing the battleground of Saul, you go back home to your church, you read that in the Bible, and you can say full-heartedly, that's 1,000,000% correct. So you'll never be the same after you come back from Israel.
Yeah. Now, you know, again, go back to the security issue. That seems to be the #1 thing that people think and talk about. You mentioned Chicago being, especially over a holiday, potentially dangerous. People are always still thinking about security, and that seems to be a big deal. And the people that we bring back from Israel, they all say, I felt totally safe. But what do you say to people that still have that question?
I say that Israel is an extremely, extremely safe place. And when you look at the area around us, it's true that the Middle East is not the safest place in the world, but that's exactly God's intention. Israel is the land of God. And that's why Christians can go completely free. Churches are completely safe. Mosques are completely safe. It's a full, tolerant, and democratic country. The area around us is not the nicest area.
Right.
But the thing is, it's the same as Mexico is also a part of North America. So in the same analogy, I can say that because Mexico is very dangerous, stay away from the U.S. because North America is very dangerous. It's the same thing.
That's terrific. If you named off the top 3 or 4 things that people should see when they come to Israel, what would it be?
Ooh, again, how long do we have?
Well, just 3 or 4 things.
3 or 4 things.
Yeah, not the entire tour.
Of course, the Garden Tomb. Of course, Garden of Gethsemane. If you can, go to that peace observation place, because that's an amazing place. Baptized in the Jordan River, sailing on the Sea of Galilee on the same replica of a boat that Jesus had, a little slightly bigger, of course, but same. And one of my favorite places, which is very much off the beaten track, is the town of Tzipori. Because that town shaped Jesus' childhood. Because Jesus' childhood was not shaped in Nazareth. What good can come out of Nazareth?
All right.
Tzipori is the place that he really understood, and that's why he was able to speak both to the pagan and to the Jews, to the city people, and to the Bible says that he spoke as one of authority and not as one of the scribes. That's where he's from.
So the Bible really does come alive when people go to Israel. It's an amazing thing, isn't it?
The best tour guide ever been written about Israel, it's the Bible. So when you open a book of Samuel, chapter 23, and you go to En-Gedi, you will see the cave that David stooped down and said, "My Lord the King," and he spoke to Saul. When you look at the book of Judges, you read about the battle of Gideon versus the Midianites, you will be able to kneel down and lick like a dog from the spring of Harod. What the Bible is showing, that's 100% what you're going to see in Israel. So the Bible comes alive to a point that even the names of the streets, the names of the mountains, the Hebrew letters, they're exactly the same as Jesus saw, as David, as Jeremiah, as Prophet Habakkuk, every single one of them.
Okay. You know, as we go on in a tour, and people get done with a tour, what's the reaction to actually being there?
First of all, it's a shock. It's a good thing it's a 14-hour flight from here, not 40 years in the desert, a little less than that. But it takes time to absorb what you see. Because again, it's a big impact on your soul, not on your eyes. You know, when I was fortunate enough to go to Alaska, on a cruise to Alaska. One of my dreams was to see Glacier Bay. Did it change my life? No, it's a beautiful glacier, but it impacted my brain, not my soul.
Right.
When you're in Israel, it impacts your soul,
interesting.
who you are.
Yeah.
And on the way back, I remember every day I used to guide thousands of trips in Israel. Every evening when we sat down together for dinner, most people were completely quiet. One, because they're exhausted, because you see so many sights in one day. Second, you absorb so much. The human soul cannot understand that much. Only later on, about half a year after you come back, you still resonate of what you've seen. And when you go to church and you speak to people who have been to Israel, you see all the people who've been there kind of like have this glow on them. I've been there, I know what you're talking about, and that lasts for a really long time.
Okay. Now, Israel is such a unique place. There's always something, quote, new that's being discovered. What's new?
3 days ago, I just spoke about it this morning. A friend of mine has home in the town of En-Kerem, which in the Bible is called the town of Judah.
Right.
And that's the place where John the Baptist came from. They decided to renovate their living room. No joke, 3 days ago. They decided to renovate their living room, and it appeared to be that their house is built on a ritual bath that was built 2,000 years ago, probably by the inhabitants that knew John the Baptist.
Wow.
So today, you go to their living room to have coffee, you'll see a door in the middle of the living room. If you open it, you'll be able to visit the town of Judah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now that's happening almost virtually every day, where again, people go back and you can discover history and you can discover the Bible all over again.
You know, people ask me, when was the last time they found something in Israel? Hold on. Now.
Oh, you know, there's a lot of things going on here in the United States, talking about the Holocaust Museum and the Qumran Caves and the Bible land. What kind of great museums are there in Israel for people to go to that's going to make that Bible thing come alive?
Well, of course, there's the Israel Museum, that you can see the most intact and most accurate model of the temple and Jerusalem from the time of Jesus, and even a little bit after that, before the destruction of the temple. There's a new museum by the name Friends of Zion, which is right in the middle of it's called the Cat Square in Jerusalem, a beautiful, amazing museum. There's a museum of the Bible lands, where you will find artifacts from Abram all the way to the Hellenistic period and the revolt of the Maccabees. And this is just in Jerusalem. There is the Diaspora Museum. If you want to see if you have any Jewish roots, you can. It's kind of like Ancestry.com, but it doesn't end in Ellis Island. It ends way before that, so you can track who you are and what you are. That's actually, Israel has the most numbers of museum per capita in the world.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, we're going to miss you being here in the U.S. Are we going to see you in Israel?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, terrific. Well, look forward to being with you and look forward to being able to see you. Thank you for being a terrific representative of the Ministry of Tourism of Israel here in the United States. We look forward to seeing you. And, you know, if you want to go to Israel, you can contact us at LeSEATours.com, or you can connect with Omer at GoIsrael.com, or go to harvest-tv.com. We'll be right back with an update from Brian Bush. LeSEA Tours comes to Israel 3 times a year, February, June, and November. And we want you to join us as we experience the land of the Bible and walk through the Bible, where the Bible literally does come to life. We want to share with you more information at LeSEATours.com about how you can come to the land of the Bible and experience the Bible for yourself. For a free November tour brochure, call 1-800-685-3732 or visit LeSEATours.com.
ISIS terrorists have slaughtered thousands of Christians and moderate Muslims across the Middle East. Over 1 million people have fled their homes. Many, after being given the ultimatum, convert to Islam or die. They've lost everything because they refused to renounce Christ. With every hour that passes, the situation grows worse for tens of thousands of people who were driven from their homes by ISIS. Feed the Hungry has committed to support these refugees by providing a box of food that would last an entire month. Today, with your gift of $70, you can help 5 families know that they are not forgotten. We need you to act now. Please call 1-877-769-9268 or visit feedthehungry.org.
The World Pulse Festival is coming up on Friday, July 10th and Saturday, July 11th at the Compton Family Ice Arena. You're all invited. It's a free ticket event, and you're going to love the artist lineup. Friday, it's Vertical Church Band, Amy Grant, and Michael W. Smith. Saturday's lineup, it's Blanca, Sidewalk Prophets, 10th Avenue North, and you might remember this next band from last year, Building 429.
It's not about me, and you're all there will be.
Don't forget your free tickets. Don't forget about pre-parking. You can get your passes at worldpulsefestival.com. So we'll see you July 10th and 11th at the World Pulse Festival at Compton Family Ice Arena in South Bend, Indiana. Don't forget, free ticket info at worldpulsefestival.com.
Well, we continue our conversation about the Middle East by checking in on the current events that are happening there. Our correspondent Brian Bush joins us now from Jerusalem. And Brian, unfortunately, we start with tragedy today. Bloodshed in the Sinai with the deaths of many Egyptian soldiers. Bring us the latest.
Five different checkpoints near the Sheikh Zarek, Egyptian northern town of Sinai. The peninsula there, and the numbers have yet to still be officially confirmed, but at least 15 Egyptian soldiers have lost their lives, perhaps as many as 30, and there have been dozens injured in these attacks. Now, just a few hours ago, Islamic State's Egyptian affiliate called the Sinai Province claimed responsibility for these sophisticated attacks. In one of the attacks, 23 attackers were killed, and they were using 3 Toyota Jeeps mounted with anti-aircraft guns. Those were destroyed by Egyptian forces. These attacks come, Chuck, just 2 days after the now assassination of Egypt's public prosecutor in Egypt's capital, Cairo. Chuck?
Brian, I know it's kind of early to figure out what the response is, but what has been the response of Egypt's government to this attack?
Well, carrying on with what I was just saying, I reported on Monday about the Egyptian lead prosecutor having been seriously wounded in a car bomb attack. Unfortunately, he passed away of his wounds. And at his funeral yesterday, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi promised legal reforms to ensure the speedier prosecution of terrorists and the carrying out of the death penalty if those terrorists are convicted. I think we'll see those legal reforms pushed through fairly rapidly. And I also think that we're going to see some type of strong, tough, quick military response against insurgents affiliated with the Sinai province in the northern Sinai region, which frankly will deepen the hostilities, but it is the expected response to this horrible, sophisticated attack on Egypt's forces. Chuck?
The other big story in the Middle East that many people are following, Brian, are the talks going on between the world powers and Iran in Vienna. What has been the response to those talks there in Israel?
Well, Prime Minister Netanyahu has instructed his government officials not to be speaking to the press about what's going on in Vienna, although the Prime Minister's office itself has released a brief satirical cartoon equating Islamic State with the state of Iran. And Israeli officials also, it is to be noted, the few that have been allowed to speak, their rhetoric has reflected a stance which Israel has held on to long and hard, that it reserves the right to take military action if it deems necessary against Iran. Chuck?
Meanwhile, the Obama administration has been saying something kind of rare, some fairly supportive things. in regard to protecting Israel from Iran.
Yes, that's true. President Obama said yesterday, as a matter of fact, that if negotiators are not confident that all the pathways for Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon are shut down, that they could walk away and no deal would be made. This comes as the chief UN atomic official is traveling to Iran amidst a positive upcoming report citing that Iran has reduced its uranium stockpile levels. And perhaps, Chuck, the biggest thing that American officials are reportedly doing differently this time and making Israel feel better about the overall situation is that they are in constant communication with their Israeli counterparts. Now, that hasn't happened before. The Israeli officials have been briefed, but not, shall we say, day to day as a result of the negotiations that are going on between the world powers and the officials of Iran. So a lot of people in Israel feeling a little bit better about that communication. Chuck?
All right, Brian, thank you very much. Perhaps your staff can control those motorized vehicles that are going on around you. Brian also has a blog that he makes available to us, but it's only available on Facebook. All you have to do is go like our Facebook page, and you can have access to Brian Bush's blog, which he updates on Tuesdays and on Fridays. Well, yesterday after the show, Stephen had a chance to catch up with some familiar faces from television. Duck Dynasty's Cy Robertson and actor Stephen Baldwin are making a new patriotic film entitled Faith of Our Fathers. They spoke to Stephen about it, but first, here's a look at the film.
More than welcome to read my Bible. Might make you feel better.
Hey, George, you wouldn't be preparing my men for death now, would you, soldier?
No, Sarge, absolutely not.
Because I've been hearing you talk to them about God and the Bible and all that, and you realize that's not your job.
Yes, Sarge. Dear John Paul, I think about you every day.
You know, I have no idea how my dad died.
Who's Eddie Adams?
No idea.
Why didn't you try to contact him? Maybe he can fill in some blanks.
I got a son, too.
Yeah.
I got your back, Steve. Nothing is going to happen to you.
So why are you guys going to D.C.?
Driving to D.C. to see our father's name on the Vietnam Wall.
Can I read one? Dear Eleanor and Wayne, it's been raining here for 12 days
straight. I've been looking at things a little differently, thanks to this guy, Stephen George.
Stephen's kind of religious. He's going to be a preacher or something. I didn't know that.
One of our C-47s went down behind enemy lines. We will go in there and bring them home.
Greater love has no one than this, that he lay down his life for his friends.
Dear Wayne, I always struggled with my belief in God.
But I'm thinking about it. There's a verse that my friend Stephen keeps telling me about. Your dad got my dad to read the Bible.
Things that he's seen me do, I think he could forgive me.
Well, that's the beauty of our Father. He loves you selflessly.
This ain't the first time I made this trip. My mama wanted to see it, but I never made it.
Let me go, Sarge. I got your back. No, you're staying right here, Stevie. Not a chance.
Steven! We gotta fall back! I got you covered! Go!
You and me here is temporary. Paradise with him is eternity.
This year commemorates the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War, where more than 58,000 Americans lost their lives. Faith of Our Fathers honors the memory of the fallen through the story of two men that fought side by side in Vietnam, who left a legacy of humanity and faith through the letters that they wrote. Actor Stephen Baldwin and Uncle Si Robertson join us live via satellite to share more about this tremendous story. Great to have you gentlemen with us today. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. Stephen, let's start with you. As a 25-year veteran of the entertainment industry, what drew you to this film?
Well, just the story overall was so heartwarming and compelling. I was just talking with Si before we started the interview, telling him that the two sons of the dads who served in Vietnam in this picture, Faith of Our Fathers, these guys have this unanswered question about how did their dads lose their lives, who were they, and for so many people, I think this movie is relatable in that sense. I connected with it in that sense. There's been so many things in my life journey that have caused me to have problems and issues and things that I needed to overcome because there was that unanswered question. So I think the Faith of Our Fathers is very relatable to so many people. That's number one. Number two, it clearly communicates the gospel, which is the most important part of the message of the movie. And lastly, it does authentically honor our veterans, specific to the Vietnam War. I was sharing with somebody a couple days ago, I said, hey, those folks are still with us. The children of those folks, like Si, et cetera, they're still with us today. So it's a wonderful opportunity to truly honor our veterans.
Wonderful. And I know that the traditional red carpet routine wasn't followed with Faith of Our Fathers. You did more regional premieres, and you had opportunity, Stephen, to connect with and meet some of the veterans that served in Vietnam. What was that experience like, meeting these men face to face?
I'm going to throw that one over to Si because he was there last night. I unfortunately missed the big Dallas premiere. I won't say which airline was responsible. We're going to forgive them. But Si was right there, and from what I understand, he had an amazing evening.
Yeah. So Uncle Si,
that was good. Okay. Like, you know, we had all services. You know, Air Force, Marines, Army. You know, and it was a real nice evening, okay?
Yeah.
Veterans getting together, okay, that had served, okay? Some of them in Vietnam, some of them hadn't. But it was a good deal.
Yeah. Now, Uncle Si, you yourself are a Vietnam veteran. I think we've got a photo up on the screen kind of showing you in your days of service there. As a veteran of Vietnam, the Vietnam War, unfortunately, I think there was a dark spot in American history in the way that our nation treated those that served as they came back to the country. What was it that drew you to this particular film?
Okay, look, Faith of Our Fathers, first and foremost, okay, you know, it presents the gospel story, okay, between the two fathers in combat, okay. They discuss, you know, the gospel, okay. Then the second thing was it's about relationships, okay? Father and son relationships, okay? Buddies that are in war zones, relationship. Those that are around them, the relationships there, that they depend on each other, okay? And look, it's a love story, okay? It's about relationships. And it's about our father's love for their sons.
There's a great scripture in the film at the end that says there's no greater thing that one man can do for another than be willing to lay down his life. I think Uncle Si here knows what that's like as a result of his dedication and his service to our country. And that's a big message of the movie as well.
Stephen, I know that you've worked with this team before, and the Downs brothers. This is from the studio that brought us God's Not Dead as well. Why do you think it's important for this kind of movie to be made? And if you could speak to maybe the trend of this kind of messaging that's coming into the entertainment industry in a new and fresh way.
That's a great question. Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I've done 90 movies over 25 years. Been very blessed. The last 10 years focused primarily on Christian film for myself. And when I first started making Christian movies, and I do a lot of ministry, I do a lot of Christian charity, and you know, when you stand up and you say the name Jesus in Hollywood, well, you know, some people are going to look at you a little bit funny. But for me, God is awesome because wouldn't you know it, here we go 10 years later, I'm getting more offers now to do Christian movies than I have for anything else in a long time. And it's really God's timing, which is an awesome part of the story of this film as well. This film was made 6 years ago and sat around while the Downs brothers were trying to figure out what to do with it in post-production and the distribution and the marketing, et cetera, et cetera. Wouldn't you know it, Kevin Down gets cast in Courageous with Alex Kendrick, which was another big hit movie. And then as a result of that, Alex Kendrick comes on board as one of the producers and the editors of this film, Faith of Our Fathers. And simultaneously, this release is happening right around the exact time of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. And it allows us to have an even greater opportunity, A, to preach the gospel, B, to really honor our veterans, which is wonderful and very much so needed. So it's what God's doing more than anything else.
Yeah, it sounds like the timing is just perfect. One last question for you, Uncle Si. What is it that you hope audiences take away after they leave the theaters? And maybe especially, what are you hoping the younger generation gets out of the message in the movie Faith of Our Fathers?
Look, Faith of Our Fathers, like I said, is to honor our vets, okay? So the young people need to know for a fact, okay, look, you know, freedom is not free, okay? We've always had men and women that stepped up to the plate, okay? A lot of them, like those names on the wall, 58,000, that gave their lives to keep this nation free. That's one of the things that all veterans have in common, okay? We love the United States of America. Okay, and look, what they need to take away from this movie is, okay, look, we send them off to war. So we need to have their back and then welcome them back if they make it back from the war. Okay? That's what they need to take away, plus the gospel.
Amen.
Okay?
Amen.
Everybody needs the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Thank you guys so much. Happy 4th of July to you both. And just to remind our audiences, Faith of Our Fathers gets released on July 1. Great movie for the holiday weekend. And Uncle Si, man, you just gave me a little bit of goosebumps there just with your last few words there. Stephen Baldwin, thank you for joining us. To connect with Faith of Our Fathers, you can go to faithofourfathersmovie.com, or as always, you can go to our website, harvest-tv.com. You'll find an easy way to link back to their site as well. More Harvest right after this.
Pete Summerall has always shared his father's lifelong vision to save the lost. So over the summer months of June and July, LeSEA Broadcasting is praying fervently that God will bring in a bountiful global summer harvest. To sustain vital ministries that are now reaching countless millions of people, LeSEA must receive $331,000 in the next 60 days. Please send your June gift today. Call LeSEA Broadcasting at 1-800-365-3732. That's 1-800-365-3732.
Critical news is happening in the Middle East 24/7, and I am living in the middle of it all, right here in Jerusalem.
Correspondent Brian Bush brings you a front row seat to major events unfolding in the Middle East. Brian knows the people and the land, keeping you abreast of the news with expert analysis from a Christian perspective.
Watch my Israel up-to-the-minute reports on the Harvest Show right here, only on this LeSEA Broadcasting station.
Dr. Lester Summerall dreamed of bringing the message of God's love and mercy to every nation of the world. Daily, LeSEA Broadcasting is fulfilling his vision to reach 1 million souls for Jesus Christ. Every day, we step out by faith to pay the cost, to obey the Great Commission of Jesus Christ, to go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. But we can't do it without you, our partners. Will you consider becoming a partner in faith with LeSEA Broadcasting by stepping out in faith to give a $25 monthly gift to keep reaching the lost, last, and the least of the world? As a partner in faith, you'll be changing lives every day for Jesus Christ. Call us today at 1-800-365-3732 or go online to partnerinfaith.com. We have some amazing resources to give you when you join. And on behalf of all the lives you'll be changing, thank you.
Today is your day. This is your moment. Life is calling. It's time to get back that extra spark that you've been missing, and it's simple with Mineral Concentrate, an all-natural trace mineral product designed to promote energy and focus without sugar nor caffeine. Call 1-800-965-2345 or log on to mhclife.com. Today is your day. It's time for life.
Well, we're back talking about how to avoid the mind trap. And we're in 1 Peter chapter number 1, and we've talked about the eternal hope that Peter has written about that is alive within us. And he describes it in verse number 3 of 1 Peter 1. He said, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, which according to his abundant mercy hath begotten us again unto a lively hope by the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead." Verse 4, he said, "To an inheritance that is incorruptible, that is undefiled, and that fades not away, that is reserved in heaven for you." Now, in light of that hope, Peter gives us then a warning, which I feel like needs to be the center of our conversation this morning. He says in verse 13, he said, "Wherefore, or because of, or in light of, gird up the loins of your mind. Be sober and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Jesus Christ." He uses the term wherefore, because of, based on the fact of what I have just said, that you have an incorruptible hope that does not fade away, based on the fact that you're kept by the power of the Holy Spirit. He is teaching us that the most important part of you that you must guard in the middle of your battle right now is your mind. Many of you are in that battle, and in the middle of that battle, your mind must be guarded. He said, gird up the loins of your mind. Be sober and hope to the end of the grace that is to be brought to you. Now, the term gird up is a metaphor. He gets that metaphor from the practice of the Orientals who, in order to be unimpeded in their movements, they were accustomed that when they would start a journey or maybe they would go to work, they would bind the long flowing garments that were around them. They would bind them closely around their bodies and fasten them with a leather belt. And I feel like that is a great picture because there are so many people who are trying to run this race of life, but they keep tripping. Just like those garments would have tripped those Orientals, so they bound them up so that they would not trip. So many people keep tripping and falling because of the thoughts that are in your head. You keep tripping what is over in your mind, and when you fall, you become more vulnerable to the attack of the enemy. And so what Peter is saying, you literally have to gird up. You have to tighten up the thoughts of your mind so that you don't allow anything in your mind that does not belong there. Now, if that means turning off the television when impure images come across the screen, then do it. If that means getting off social media, then do it. If that means putting a filter on your computer, then do it. Whatever it takes for you to gird up, tighten up the thoughts that are coming into your head. If that means getting away from negative, depressing people, then do it. Don't allow any thought of impurity, any thought of depression or discouragement. Don't give it room within the confines of your mind, because within every thought is the seed of an action. And therefore, the only way to change your action is to change your thinking. And the only way to change your thinking is to change what you allow into your mind. Because what you look at the longest becomes the strongest inside of you. So friend, if you surround yourself with negative, pessimistic people, then you're going to have negative, pessimistic thinking. Because what's around you is eventually going to get inside of you. He said, gird up the loins of your mind. Now, the question is, why does he use the term loins? Well, Peter uses that term specifically because that is the most tender part of the body. In fact, in the Jewish culture, they recognize this is the reproductive part of the body. So to protect the loins of your mind is to protect your thoughts, because whatever goes into your mind is going to be reproduced in your life. And if there's anything that you need to protect, it is your mind, because that's the most tender part of your entire being. If you lose control of what goes in your mind, you've lost control of your life. You show me a person who's got control of their thinking, and I'm going to show you a person who's got control over their entire life. Because remember, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. One translation said, as a man thinks, so does he become. Your thoughts are the precursor to your actions. And again, Paul uses the military terminology in Ephesians 6 when he said, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth. The Bible is teaching us that the area of your life that will trip you up the most when you're facing a difficult battle, like many of you right now, are the strongholds of your mind. Whatever battle you're facing, that battle's going to be won or lost in your mind. Win the battle today. Gird up your mind, tighten up your thinking so that you can win the battle, because it's won or lost by what goes on in your head.
And if you need prayer, prayer line is available to you right now. You can give us a call at 1-800-365-3732. You can also send in your prayer request to prayer@LeSEA.com. Log on to worldharvest.com to submit your prayer request online, or send it in through the mail at 61300 Ironwood Road, South Bend, Indiana, 46614. Now, that's just a number of ways in which you can reach us for prayer. But today, Pastor Charles, you have praise reports for us.
I do. I have praise reports. The result of prayer, Valerie.
Yes.
Right. Vivian in Idaho, Vivian calls us and tells us, I called prayer line to stand in the gap for my granddaughter, and she said she had to pass a test after getting the best job offer ever. She says, you prayed with me in agreement that God would move in her favor. She's working today full time.
Wow.
And then Garth in New York says, I called you all there to pray with me, asking for a financial blessing. God moved on a neighbor to bless me with $500 to pay an outstanding bill. And then Alicia in California says, my brother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. I called prayer line in order to have someone that knows Jesus to pray for him before he went back to the doctors. And you know what happened.
Yes, we know what happened. We know God healed this person. We know that God is a prayer answering God, and that's why we go to him. So if you need prayer, you know the number is 1-800-365-3732. We have volunteers who are standing by waiting to take your call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So don't hesitate to call. I know Pastor Charles is waiting to receive that call. And we're so glad you've decided to join us here on Harvest. We will see you tomorrow.
The World Pulse Festival, Friday, July 10th and Saturday, July 11th.
The World Pulse Festival.
Featuring your favorite Pulse FM artists at the Compton Family Ice Arena at Notre Dame. Friday night. It's the Vertical Church Band and your co-headliners, Michael W. Smith and Amy Grant.
Saturday night.
It's Sidewalk Prophets, Building 429 and 10th Avenue North. Get your ticket information at worldpulsefestival.com. Put it on your calendar and we'll see you this summer at the World Pulse Festival.
The Harvest Show is produced by LeSEA Broadcasting and is viewer-supported by people just like you. Thank you for inviting us into your home today.